Hi, Minna Bryant at theoryandprofit.com, and it is day 20 of the 30-day vlog challenge, and that's day 20 for me because I skipped Thanksgiving. I decided not to do a video on Thanksgiving and instead took lots and lots of naps and watched movies and generally did very little in the terms of business. So I'm diving back into business today, and I want to talk about doing a business inventory. But let's get this right. This is not a business inventory for someone who has a true business, who had, I won't say they set out a business plan, but they decided on a niche and they started working in that niche. This is not exactly that kind of business inventory. This is for someone who just kind of threw a whole bunch of stuff at the wall to see what would stick, and sort of maybe kind of kept doing the stuff that was sticking. But then they kept throwing just a whole bunch of stuff at the wall, So that's what this particular business inventory is all about. Maybe I should call it a "this is what's stuck against the wall" inventory, but that just is a really long name and doesn't sound very appealing, right? So business inventory for someone who doesn't really have a business in place but has done a lot of stuff and is still doing a lot of the stuff that's stuck but maybe still isn't. So that's what this business inventory is for. So there are 8 questions to cover on this business inventory, and one of those questions is kind of a 2-part question. So there's really 7.5 questions. But let's start off with this. 20% of our efforts, or some percentage that is a lot smaller than what we think it is, gives us 80% of our results. And I am completely learning that right now. I mean, I know I'm starting a service business. I keep saying I'm starting a service business. I started a service business several months ago. And one of the first things that I did was start bidding on some of the freelance sites. And I did a 30-day challenge of me bidding on the freelance sites. Well, I didn't actually finish that challenge. So I'll be honest. And I found that the bids that I was putting in, they weren't really working. And I was taking lots of time to create these bids. I mean, it was taking me, when I first started, it was taking me like an hour to write a bid because I was making sure that I had everything covered, and I was making sure that I had addressed all the points that were in the thing, in the bid request, and I was making sure that I wasn't truly underpricing myself too much. And nothing really happened. But I will be honest, I only gave it about 15 days of dedicated attention, and I never heard anything. And it after the 15th day, I truly got frustrated and I stopped. I shouldn't have, right? Because I didn't know what kind of time frame it would take for me to start hearing back and start seeing results of placing those bids. So instead of doing that, I went through the one forum that I frequent quite a bit, and that's clicknews.com, and that's in the elite members area. And I placed a Click News special offer. That's where almost all of my editing clients have come from. And also a couple have sought me out from the comments of other people's blogs. So what worked? Commenting, right? Commenting worked, and placing a Click News special offer worked. So 2 things worked, 1 thing didn't. I would like to give the bidding another try, but I'd like to come up with a better process for it. So that's what stuck for me and my service business, and I will continue to do that. I will continue to comment on author blogs and on writer blogs and on forum posts that I find. I'll continue to do that because it is working. Can I scale it? I'm not sure. I'm not sure how many comments I have in me in a day because it takes a while to read the post, and then I have to form a coherent comment. So sometimes that may not work against me. So I do need to find other ways, but I know that I can do more of that right now. I just don't know how much more of that I can do. So that's something that stuck for me. And I just went through the next two questions, actually. The next two questions are, what did creating it entail? And is it something that you'd want to do over and over again? So I answered those two questions with what I just told you. Now, the next two questions are about outsourcing. Can the entire process be outsourced? And do you want to outsource the entire process? Or do you like part of the process? And do you only want to outsource part of the process? So, you have to answer those questions for yourself, and it's going to be different for every single thing that you come up against. For one of the things that I know that I'd like to stick, but hasn't for me yet, is Squidoo. So I've determined that I will outsource part of getting a Squidoo lens done because I don't mind doing the keyword research. I actually think I might be pretty good at the keyword research. It's the writing part that slows me down, and I'm not sure why yet, but I don't want it to slow me down anymore. So when I say outsource, I'm actually getting PLR articles that are related to the keywords that I'm finding, and then I'm working those PLR articles into the keywords. So that's my form of outsourcing for that, and it's probably the least expensive form where I still control the quality of it, but I'm not having the same how do I get this writing started problem for that. So those are the next two questions. Can it be outsourced, and can portions of it be outsourced if you don't want to outsource the whole thing? The question after that is, if you're going to outsource it, do you have your procedure detailed? Now, for someone who's doing stuff where they're just tossing stuff against the wall to see what sticks, typically you have your procedure detailed in the guide or the training course, the membership or whatever that you're using to learn how to do this thing. I know with SNOS, with Shiny New Object Syndrome, that is a guide that Tiffany put out a couple of months back, and she talks about doing reviews in it, right? I mean, she talks about the process of doing a thorough review in that guide. Now, that is the process. If I were going to outsource something like that, which I'm not, but if I were going to outsource something like that, I would ask Tiffany about sharing that guide, or I would just buy my outsourcer that particular guide and then say, okay, you have X number of days to get, a review back to me using this guide as your blueprint for how to create the review, and go from there. Maybe. That's kind of okay, sorry, getting off track. That was an idea because I hadn't really thought about that. That just came out. So what else? What was your profit? Now that is a huge question because I didn't really think about profit, I feel like, okay, I made money, right? Okay, I made money doing X, but did I make a profit doing X? So I had to really stop and think about that. For let's use the SNOS, the Shiny New Object Syndrome guide again. I paid, I forget what the cost was for that guide. I'll have to look at that number, but I want to say it was under $20, right? And an affiliate commission for, say, a $27 product, if you're getting 50%, is $13.50. So I would have to have made 2 affiliate sales of an average cost guide somewhere in order for there to be profit available for that particular process. So you really have to look at revenue, how much money came in from doing that process, and then deduct any expenses. And expenses can be, like I said, buying a course that teaches you how to do it, buying a domain name, buying hosting. And buying hosting you can divvy up that revenue if you're going to be building more than one site. But if you're building your first site, your hosting, has to get paid either quarterly or yearly or monthly, and you need to make sure that you're doing something that's putting enough profit in to cover that. Enough revenue and to cover that, and giving you a little bit of profit. So yeah, it may take a little time to get to profit, but if you're covering your expenses, if your revenue is coming in and you're covering your expenses, even that tells you that there's something there because you're covering your expenses. So that's something. But what did you do that actually brought you to profit? And there's a reason that I asked that question, because it's related to the very last question in the list of 8 questions, right? Or 7.5 questions, whatever we figured out here. And it is, can you grow that profit? Right? I mean, is there something that you can do to grow the profit that you're receiving? So if you can't figure out something, and I mean, honestly, I'm pretty much an optimist. I mean, I can be a realist when I need to be a realist as far as getting something done right then in the moment, but I am generally an optimist. I see that there is possibility in almost everything. I see, silver linings for gray clouds all the time. But, sometimes it's hard to see where the profit is. So you really want to answer that question, can there be profit? Can you increase the profit that you are creating if you are creating profit? And if you're not creating profit, what can you do to start creating that profit? So those are the 8 questions. I say 8, 7.5 questions that I have that I am doing for my business inventory for something that's not truly yet a business. It's not, it's turning into a business, but it's not there yet. I will be putting all the remainder of the business aspects in place, licenses, things like that. But I have to look at all those questions to see where I'm going to focus my time and what I focused my time on this past year that actually gave me results, and then how I can better and more effectively and more efficiently do that and either increase or improve the results, or figure out a way to, outsource it so that I'm still getting those results and increasing profit. So if you are further along in your business, and I'm sure there are quite a few of you who are much further along in your business than I am, I would love to have some feedback on what you think of this. If there's something that I've missed, something that that I've missed because you're further along, something that I need to look at, something else that I need to look at. What else? And if you're not as far along as I am, I'm sure you've done something that has stuck. Take a look at that and figure out how you can do more of it and where the profit is in that, and do more of it. I mean, I think that's one of the things where we get in our own way. We want to do so many things, and we get distracted by shiny new objects, and we stop doing what has actually worked for us. And I'd like for us to stop not doing what's worked and start doing more of what's working for us until it doesn't work anymore. I mean, there's no reason to not do it if it's working. If you don't like it, find a way to make it better. Outsource it. I mean, even if you have kids, maybe your kids can do part of it. I was just reading something earlier today, a comment or a testimonial on someone's PLR site, and they were saying how their 9-year-old was a damn good copy and paster for, taking PLR content and putting it on a blog. That was something that they didn't want to do, and they paid their 9-year-old to do it. I mean, come on. We're creative. We're a creative bunch. We're doing this online. We wouldn't be doing it online if we weren't a creative bunch and a little bit, risk-taking bunch. We wouldn't be doing this online. So there's definitely a way to make something profitable if you're seeing some sort of return from it. All right, so I'm going to end there. That's my business inventory. Let me run down the 8 questions just really quickly. It is, what stuck? What did creating that entail? Is it something that you'd want to do over and over again? Can it be outsourced? If you don't want to outsource the whole thing, can a portion of it be outsourced? If you're going to outsource at all, do you have your procedure recorded for how you want it done? What was your profit, if there was any? And can you grow that profit? So those are the 8 questions, and I hope they're helpful for you. I look forward to your comments, and I will see you in the next video.